Hey guys, what's up? It's Ben, obviously. Yeah, obviously. Who else would it be? It's my podcast. Filming these intros is something else, guys. It really is something else. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for my talk with Kevin. So, me and Kev had a great talk. Me and him met a couple years ago, and Kev's a great conversationalist. And the first half of the podcast, we go on a lot of different rabbit trails and whatnot. So if it's hard to follow, I do apologize. We're trying to get better at that. But yeah, we just had a really good conversation, especially on the back half of the pod, where we just talk about a lot of things like Protestant versus Catholicism, and just different aspects of God that we've seen in our own life and whatnot. And at times, obviously I did a little bit of editing, but there's times where especially me, where I'm trying to really communicate my thoughts about a certain subject or topic, and there's a little bit of stuttering and whatnot. But I hope from what you guys get from this is that I'm just trying to have these open conversations just about God and faith, and just wanting to learn and grow more. So I think we really captured that well. But have that in the front of your mind as you go into the back half of the podcast. Even it's crazy. Even in this intro, I'm still stuttering. But this is like my 7th time filming it, so we're just gonna roll with it.
Guys, what's up? It is the last house on the left. It is a Saturday evening, and the Celtics are down by 30. Probably going to be 40 now by the time they end up the game. But I have a very special guest that has requested one. You were the first one, Kevin, that actually is like, dude, can I come on the podcast or whatever?
This is so cool.
Yeah.
This is such a fun thing, man. It's such an honor.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. So.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it was funny because
cool.
we were just having so some of our other friends, we were all hanging out for the Celtics game and whatnot, and so I was showing you the whole podcast stuff because we were supposed to do one tomorrow morning. We had to work out plans and whatever.
Right.
As we were probably both talking to each other on Bluetooth as I was doing FedEx and you were doing the mail.
Yeah, well, my phone is like, it's not exactly like, top shelf.
Yeah,
definitely, it's like speakerphone. I'm safe. I'm hands free.
Yeah, nice.
Laissez-faire,
Yeah,
hands off. But yeah, it's kind of lame. It's kind of weak.
No,
so
that's cool, bro.
I always have to be like, what?
So,
What'd you say?
It's funny, dude. So when I was working for Amazon, they have like this, obviously the scanner that for Amazon, it's just like an iPhone that has like the Amazon Flex app. So the Amazon Flex app, it monitors your, there's like 5 or 6 different categories, so it's insane. But it's like it monitors your curbing, your acceleration, your braking,
so we have the same
your
thing.
phone distraction. Yeah. It's called Mentor,
Wait,
the app.
Does it have a camera on the truck? How does it monitor?
No, so Amazon had, and FedEx has this now too, because right now I'm with FedEx.
Oh, right.
But Amazon, they also have Amazon and FedEx both have cameras in the van. But Amazon is almost even more anal because I feel like, in a funny way, like with Amazon, I was driving the transit vans, which were like much smaller and whatever.
Were they? Yeah. So like I've seen a variety of vans, like different makes. Like I've seen Mercedes.
So the one that you said,
like the Ford Transits.
Yeah. So same exact. So the FedEx one that I was driving today when I called you is basically the same size.
Yeah, because I heard the ding.
Right,
the
yeah.
thing, yeah, and
it drives you crazy when you do like.
Oh my gosh, dude!
80 to
every
90
time
stops a
I
day.
get to a stop, yeah, it's like immediately pull out the key, and I just put it on the dash, or if I'm like, depending on what area I'm in, obviously I'll bring the key with me, but like, if I'm in some kind of remote neighborhood, I'll just kind of like quickly pull it out, toss it on the dash,
Yeah, and that's what's funny because with the that's one thing I'm trying to work on a very random note, little sidebar here.
No.
I say the phrase, Kev. I say
love
the
side
phrase.
notes.
This is so funny, or it's so funny how, like, dude, I say it 10 times a podcast.
Well, what's wrong with that? No, do you feel like you say that like normally and naturally, or is it
maybe I do,
or is it more just like you're trying to figure out how you want to present on a podcast, maybe.
That's a great question, bro. I guess I haven't thought about it that much. I think it must be part of my natural speech, and am not fully aware of it. Ooh, I'm tangled
Well,
here.
I think everybody has like their own unique, different phrases and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's what makes it fun. It makes it cool talking to different people.
Yeah.
It's like I'm pretty lucky, I think, because, I think for a lot of people it has to be something, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to explain this or describe this. Basically, I think my favorite thing in life is just talking with people.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like I'm so grateful and lucky, I think, that I enjoy that so much because it's so easy to have. You know what I mean? Like if you enjoy, meeting people and talking to people and you enjoy listening to everybody's stories and stuff, it's like that's the best thing.
Well, it's funny.
It's so easy to like have in your life,
Well,
sometimes,
it's funny.
Sometimes, depending
No,
on
I would say a
how
lot of
things
times,
go,
dude. And you also, Kev, you also said really quickly, not to cut you off.
No.
You said listening too. So listening. Ooh, that's actually an interesting thought that just popped in my head. Is listening and being quiet the same thing? I don't think it always is.
I think I've heard.
And you're someone that definitely has both. So at some point we can get into how we met and whatever. But that's one reason why I wanted to have you on.
I don't think I have both. I don't think I'm particularly a good listener. It's something.
Really?
Yeah, I think I think because the way I get my ideas and intentions and just thoughts and everything, I'm very verbal, and so
a verbal processor.
Yeah. And so for me, I kind of like to, I don't know, a lot of issues in life, like from my life experience so far, have been solved from just really like simple communication. And so I enjoy communicating, it's easy for me. So I talk a lot.
Yeah.
But, and there's pros to that, I think, it's really helped me out a lot in different areas of life. But like, I have so much admiration and respect for people who, when you're just with them, it's like, you're like, wow. Like, I really feel like they're absorbing and taking, like, everything.
That's a good word. Yeah.
Everything in at the moment. And sure, I think everybody has those moments where they're, like, really good listeners. But then there's those people who are just, like, consistently good, like, all the time. And I really admire that, It's such a gift. It's a huge gift. And I've been lucky to know people who are like that,
An interesting part about that, too, is that those, like, really good listeners, in a way, kind of separate themselves from the pack of our normal friends, right? I have so many good friends. And whenever, even it's funny, when we first met, I'm like, man, this guy is really friendly, and I feel like I've been friends with him for, like, a long time. And we were just talking about this on the porch, but I think we met in like COVID.
Oh,
when
yeah.
A couple of our friends, we just did pick up football.
Yeah, that was really cool. Oh wait, no, because you didn't.
That was the first time we met, right?
You weren't at Sunday River when it was like Martin's birthday.
No, I missed it.
Yeah,
I wanted to go, but I was broke at the time.
You're right.
I was like, dang it.
Hey,
I heard it was legendary.
It was, but like, I think Martin was really nice. We had a lot of people that came, so it ended up being not that expensive for what it was. It was like a minute drive.
How many people did you have? Probably like 10, 15.
I want to say it was around like the 12 apostles. No, I think it was like 11, maybe.
The 12
11,
apostles.
I don't know. It was like
Kevin
10,
and
11, 12 people.
Cool.
I don't know. It was fun.
And on a random note, I met you and David at the same time, or Dave, whatever. I ran into him at Soho a couple months ago. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I should
Okay,
say.
so
Yeah.
funny thing about
My
that.
brother.
Shout out to my boy, David.
You guys are just very welcoming people.
Tumani Tsunami.
What did you say?
Tsunami. It's his last name.
Right.
Tsunami.
Oh,
like,
Tsunami.
I thought that was like, you know what I mean? Cause,
Yeah.
when we played sports
Yeah.
together, you think of like some
You
strong.
guys went to high school together, right?
Well, we played football, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he ran. I don't know if he did it all 4 years, but he ran track, and so I had this thing where my parents, I trusted their judgment, and like grateful for that. Again, pros and cons of going to a different school, but yeah, I went to Concord Christian Academy, and then I lived in Concord, so you're like a resident taxpayer.
You were born.
So.
Were you born there too, or?
Yeah.
Born
it's
and
time
raised, dog.
It's time to born
Come
and
on,
raised.
dude.
Seatown.
It's funny because
Concord,
even with like
very
Milford,
grateful for it.
I was born in Nashua, and then I went to high school in Nashua. But like my church and half of my friends, both the guys I live with now are from Milford. So I'm like, I feel like more of a Milford, whatever the word is, Milfordite. I know it's got
No.
Or I felt like Milfordite sounds better than Milfordidian.
Oh wait, what was the second one?
Milfordidian.
No, I like that one better.
That one's better. Okay.
Yeah, that one's cool. That sounds like something like Mandalorian. Kind of.
It does.
It
does.
Not obviously not super close, but yeah, it kind of sounds like that. Oh yeah, so sorry. I know, like
sorry, little rabbit trail.
No, we're
This is awesome.
That's
dude.
one of the things. Like sometimes I'm all over the place. I think it's when I'm in a good mood.
Hey, that's why I have a podcast.
Yeah, and I'm excited, and it's such a cool thing to do. But yeah, I was bringing up the Sunday River thing because that's where I met
Sunday
Nate.
River. Sorry.
That's where I met Nate.
That's where you met Tibbs?
Yeah.
Oh no way. Oh
Yeah,
I thought you guys knew each
pretty
other.
Positive. I don't, because I'm pretty sure he went to Don Bosco.
Oh, okay.
And that's like the uniting, thread.
Yeah.
Of like a lot of people and a lot of my good friends are good friends in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
It like kind of funnels back down to Don Bosco. Thank you, Mr. Gillis. Great
Mr.
guy.
Gillis.
Great guy. Yeah. Yeah, I think he's been doing that camp for like probably 30 years by now. No.
Oh,
wait,
wow.
hold up. No, because my brother was like one of the first members when he was younger, so I want to say maybe he was like 6 or I don't know 7. So I don't know, 20-something years.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's funny, man, because going back to something that we were talking about earlier, which is like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, just I guess just the skill of being able to talk and communicate like your thoughts, just accurately and with clarity is something that's very, I think it's pretty underrated. I feel like in a way, especially with my family, like my dad's like, I think my family is, our blood is German and I think just Irish. So nothing too crazy, right? My last name is Sontag, right? Which if you if you add one more N to the SONNTAG, it would be it means Sunday in German, which is so funny.
Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is so funny because when
day.
I got this, I think I showed you this. So this is my most recent tattoo.
What? Hold on, let me check that out.
I haven't gotten a tat in a while, but when I got this tattoo, I'm like, why did I get like the German name Sunday? It makes no sense. I should just have my middle last name because I'm like, oh, family crest and whatever. This is actually like in regards to that specific German crest. It is like pretty accurate to what it is. Obviously, my
You've got it the right way.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, look at that. There we go.
Oh, there. Yeah, I know, right?
I was like, I must be doing this wrong. Anyway, so yeah, dude. So about the tattoo.
Oh, I was just saying how it's funny with my last name being like I'm like I didn't have to put the extra N in here just to make it sound more German because I'm like there's so much like even like the rising sun with the face is part of the German crest or whatever. It's like it's really not that big of a well. There's like a lot of artistic
it's your family
liberty.
crest, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean tattoos. I'm not huge on them. I only have one.
Yeah, you got
But-
one on your foot.
Oh yeah.
And you got that a while ago, right?
I
Two,
think it
two,
was
3
like
years?
summer of 22.
Okay, I'm bugging then, man. My
Yeah.
bad.
No, so oh.
It must be
No,
weird
but-
on your feet though, because like
no,
no,
it's not weird. Do you mean like weird, like initially
like
getting
awkward
it, or
pain,
Awkward pain. I mean, it
because
was
all your bones.
It was
There's a lot
painful,
of
but,
bones
like,
in your feet.
I'm not trying to sound like cheesy, but just at that particular time in my life, I was like experiencing a lot of like mental and emotional pain. So like, you know what I mean? So like the physical didn't, seem to matter as much. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't like, you kind of like, you don't feel it, or it doesn't, you're not really bothered by it as much. I guess I should. That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like it's still super painful, but it just doesn't have the same effect on you.
Do you feel like you have to get it if you, I guess I should rephrase that. With getting a tattoo, do you personally believe that you have to have meaning behind it? I personally do.
I mean,
obviously, like we're
it's
both
not like there's
Christians. I'm Protestant. you're
right.
Catholic,
I think in general, when it comes to like any subject or any question, I think a lot of people ask, whether they can or can't, or whether I can or can't, and it's like, yeah, I don't think. I mean, there's a lot of areas in my life where I should have been asking this, and I think everyone, but it's more like, we should be asking like, oh, should I or should I not? It's like, what should I ought to do, and why?
Sure.
I think
Yep.
it's like, if you take your existence like seriously, in the sense of you have like a reverence for it, your origin, and did that get unplugged, or is that a separate wire?
Oh, it did. Shoot.
I think if you go from
100%.
there, right, it's like just a really like simple thought, really basic, but I think then you can kind of go about getting a tattoo that way, I suppose, right? Like you could just be like, okay, if this means this, or this has this meaning for me, and I have this thought and explanation for it, and this was my motivation for doing it, and I mean, if and then I think it's like, yeah.
Out of curiosity, this is an interesting question. So, obviously, like whatever. Long story short, society and whatnot is very much like tattoos don't carry the same significance, or I shouldn't say significance, but like cultural weight as it did maybe as earlier, like when our parents were kind of coming up and being younger.
Yeah,
because everyone's got a tattoo. Pastors got tattoos, or excuse me, or whatever. You're at a business meeting and you don't have to cover up. It's like
it's a way of communication, I think, really.
Yeah,
because you're like.
That's interesting.
It's your way of physically manifesting all of your, maybe some hurt you have, or maybe some questions you have, maybe some ideas or dreams, or just things that you like. It's a way of projecting what's inside you. It's like what you have on the outside tends to be sometimes loosely, not like always hard, exactly, but I feel like it's a reflection of, the inside.
Yeah. Do you mean that in the way of like self-expression?
Yeah. I mean, because it's, it's like artwork on yourself. So it's very very much a self-expression.
It's funny. With my tattoos, the first one I got was the lion that says faith is not silent on the crest beneath it. This one on my shoulder, which on a random note, if anyone is looking to get their first tattoo, get it on your shoulder, because it is like the best area to get it, because it's so like it's not bad at all. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my I don't think I talked about this, but so getting the family crest was my last tattoo, right? So you have shading on your
shading, like
foot,
they
right?
kind of like, like you fill in the lines. Is that what you mean?
Okay,
yeah.
I think shading isn't bad. I think I think it's the opposite.
Yeah,
I think
know what you meant.
outlining is fine. Shading is weird because they're just rubbing it in there as it's like, going at your skin.
Yeah.
My ADH mind just went bonkers. But there was something I was bringing up about my own. Whatever. Anyways, another fact from what I was trying to add is that my this tattoo was my sixth one, and it was the one where I felt the most queasy and whatever. So I was, and honestly, on a funny note too, these two, like the Kraken, which kind of follows the theme of the ship on the back of my arm, and this one. So my last two tattoos were just kind of make a full sleeve.
Was that inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh yes,
a little bit.
Yeah,
it's funny, like in like a really like shallow and petty way. You're like, I like the octopus on your arm. I'm like, it's a Kraken, because this is the Kraken, and it's going after the ship.
Right.
But it's like, dude, I have an octopus, a ship, a clock, and a lion on my arm. Like, pretty basic ass tattoos.
Well, yeah. What made you want to? Okay, we went over the crest, but what? Yeah. What made you? See,
what made me defile my body?
No.
What happened?
What's
going on in your Protestant mind?
What? No, I don't.
Are the volumes still good? By the way,
I think so. Yeah, this is really neat, and that's why I finally realized the use for the earphones. I was like,
yes, sir.
I was like, can't they just hear each other talk? Like, why do they need?
I know. Well, also we have we have trap beats going up there.
No, it's just a short-sighted.
No, yeah, I get it.
Like, I just didn't really press the question any further in my head. I was like, I don't know, maybe But then I realized I was like, oh, it's probably for feedback.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying you were about to roast me about my shallow tattoos.
No, not a roast. Just like okay. So you're saying like tattoos weren't, or they're more kind of generally acceptable now. You're saying in society than they were like for previous generations, or is that kind of what you were getting at?
That was like an observation I had made after.
So I think, I think it's like, it's like all things. Like we're humans, we're all like habitual creatures. We all have habits, but we're also like we go in these different cycles.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think it's just like a trend. Like the Egyptians, ancient Egyptians had tattoos. Like a lot of
tattoos is not like a new thing. Which is funny.
So.
A lot of people
curious
think it's like
now. Everybody says indigenous, but then I've heard some, like actually Native
Rabbit
American,
Trail. Here we go.
Huh?
Sorry, I said Rabbit Trail. Here we go.
Oh yeah, like
no, I'm tracking with you. Go.
Yeah, there was this guy. We'd call him Cern Dog. He's a really good wrestler. Oh my gosh, dude. He competes in some national kind of thing. And,
did you used to wrestle, by the way? I forget.
No, never wrestled. No.
Okay, my bad.
No, I thought about doing it, but
I have the body to do it too.
It was just like
I should have stuck with football.
It sounds soft, but like I wanted to ski and snowboard and like enjoy Christmas break and like spend time with family and like have just a variety of experiences. But I understand. Again, another side note. I think it's like sports can become too much of a religion. There's obsession. There's a reverence and a respect and a love and a passion like you can have for someone, right? But you can have a kind of wrongly placed love.
You could be
obsessed. Right? You can be obsessed or infatuated, right? So I think we can
talking to all the LeBron fans.
We can be that way with everything. And I love sports. But just like it's like anything. Like everything in moderation, I feel like. Video games can be really fun, but, like, they can kind of take over your life. And I feel like the same thing with sports. Are sports, I think, healthier than video games? Absolutely. But, yeah, I just didn't want to do year-round sports. I did one in the fall and one in the spring, and I did other stuff. And there would be these, like, all-day long, 8-9-hour tournaments, and you have to, like, travel and – kind of takes up your whole
even when I was playing like pickup bro, we didn't even really play in that many tournaments until my senior year. And like playing more than like 2 or 3 like 2 games in a day I even remember was like so rough. And we played, so I'm 26. Are you older than me? I forget.
I'm 25.
You're younger than me. So, in this Christmas tournament in 2016, we played Concord Christian, like their
Oh yeah.
their basketball team. They were solid. Unfortunately our junior year, on a very random note, we lost in the championships. Like we
Must have been a good fight though.
ascended past St. Marie's and Holy Family and lost to this team Tri-City, which is the bane of our existence. And then the main reason why we lost junior year too was because I had like 4 points. I remember we called the same. This is another rabbit hole, but we called the same play for me.
Dude,
Which I could only hit 10-foot jumpers, right? So I remember we called the same play in a row for me like 3 times in a row, and I missed this shot every time. So I had 4 points and Shane, who was just on, as you know, was like a.
Did you guys play
wizard.
basketball together? You
So
and
Shane played ball. He went to NCAA for our junior year. So our team was really good junior year, and then we like lost.
Did
like,
Joe also go to what is it, NCAA?
Yeah, Joe Fournier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe graduated with us. But anyways, to make a long story short, junior year we had the best team and we didn't make the championship, and then Shane left, and then we played my senior year and we ended up winning. And there was a certain segue that I was gonna make.
That was my fault.
Damn it, Kevin.
No, it's just this is kind of fun. It's like a little babbling brook. It's like a little river. All the different
me and you both
thoughts,
so,
all the different tributaries and
tributaries. I don't even know what. All right, Kev. I see you. We're just gonna throw out the dictionary here.
No. Just being. Oh, dude. Speaking of that, Johnny. I know, dude. We're being rabbits right now. We're digging a lot of rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, really quickly to close the basketball narrative.
Man.
What were we even talking before basketball? We were talking about.
I don't know.
You were talking about sports.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying
how they're obsessed.
That was my reasoning for. You asked me if I had wrestled, and I was just saying like I wanted some time off, to enjoy different things, and I think like we can all become too obsessed with sports, so that's why I like.
Yeah.
Saying that's all.
Yeah. So even just to make a long story short, in high school, I was pretty obsessed, but it wasn't until even Shane left that we won our senior year. But also like our team junior year like got to the point where we were good enough to where we could probably play like D3 or D4 high school ball, which is where Concord Christian played in D3 or D4, right?
They played all their sports were D4.
Yeah, because everything with like St. Marie's Holy Family, Tri-City, Jesse Remington, and all these other
those
teams. It wasn't even like
D4.
a real league. They called it like SNHCC. It's like Southern New Hampshire, or at least for soccer, it was like Southern New Hampshire Co-op Christian, whatever. I don't know if the Christian part offended all the Catholics.
Did you feel like you like you wouldn't trade it for anything? Like you really benefited from?
No, it was cool, dude. I feel like I wish I could have picked up ball. Like on a random note, my older sister Mariah, played. She went to NCAA, graduated like I think she graduated in like maybe 2012. I don't know. And she tried to do like play for Merrimack, but go to school at NCAA, and it just didn't work out.
Oh, okay.
But my sister was like really, really good at ball. She probably could have played in college, but
really,
she,
so you're a
it was hard for
basketball
her to-
family. So like I didn't know you were like a basketball guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I didn't
I
know
am.
that was your thing. Like I didn't
It's
know
funny
that was your sport.
I'm built as like a football player, but then I didn't take basketball seriously until probably my freshman year, and there's this really cringy time where I remember because they would always have all the championships at St. Marie's gym / Holy Families or whatever. I remember 9th grade, I'm like, I want to be here someday, and then senior year we were able to make it happen. But it was bigger beating Holy Family when we were in the semifinals than playing Tri-City, who had their best player Austin Elliott, who was injured in the actual final. So the semifinal was almost a bigger win than the other one. But yeah, I've always been a basketball guy. Like I said, my dad actually played D1 tennis at UMass Amherst.
Oh, what? No
so
way.
he's a tennis. My dad can play a lot of sports, but tennis and hockey was his thing.
Yeah, so you come from a family of athletes.
Yeah, mom played ball and was decent, but she never played like collegiate or whatever. But my dad was a good athlete and stuff. Unfortunately, I'm living in his shadow, but I got other things. So dad's currently dad's trying to. He's been taking piano lessons for a while, so he's like, at some point, Ben, one day I'll be on the worship team with you, which I haven't played on a worship team in forever. Once again, a lot of rabbit hole trails or whatever the word is. But I don't know if I was ever obsessed with basketball, but it was more of a thing that was just like cool to get into, because everyone needs their thing when you're growing up.
100%. Yeah,
if you don't have
it's health, it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you don't have that thing, whatever it is, whether it's picking up music or doing sports or art or I don't know, even I guess people start working out around like probably 16, 17 or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works out,
dude. So that's how I or I guess I should say the summer after 8th grade year, we had this weightlifting program for football at Concord
at CCA?
No, at Concord High.
You went to Concord High?
I went to Concord
for all of high school?
No. I went to Concord Christian Academy.
Right.
But I played sports at CHS.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's what my sister tried to do.
Yeah.
Doing it.
So like actually they CCA like messed up my schedule or something, and their class sizes were so small that they didn't a lot of times have like alternate like.
How many people did they have when you were in high school there?
I think my graduating class was like 14.
Oh shoot! So they were almost like NCAA size.
Yeah. So
I graduated with like 10 or 11 of us.
Yeah, so it was pretty small, and I think it's like especially year after year, it's not like you're like constantly reflecting on the past, right? But like occasionally a thought will pop back in, or you see something that reminds you of the time period or whatever, and you'll start to think about it, and then you kind of see the pros and cons, and definitely different scope, I think, over time, so yeah, and it's like everyone's experiences are different. It's, what makes us unique. But yeah, I definitely did want to go to Concord High just because I had a lot more people I knew there. Some really good people. So
yeah. Do you feel like going to a Christian school was good for you or bad for you?
Oh, definitely. Definitely good for me. And I think it was good for me because you could see the care and you could see the mission of in the staff and in the teachers, faculty. Like they I think they really showed you a lot of love, a lot of patience, and they push you to be your best, and they had standards, and they wanted what was best for you, and that was definitely clear.
Sometimes,
and they weren't lazy.
Yeah,
they were really hardworking.
Really quickly to interject too, it's almost with some of my friends from NCA, it's almost a double-edged sword if you think about it. Like teachers that care, because you're like, are you caring too much and getting too much in my business, or do you not care? Like where's the balance? But I
feel like that's what people. I mean,
I didn't have any personal issues with
parents,
that. But
parents got to deal with that probably all the time.
Right. Yeah, so, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm sure
But you saw a lot of beneficial.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I think just by virtue of the size, didn't have the same type of culture or the same type of atmosphere, or they didn't have a lot of extracurricular activities and clubs and things like that. But they did their best, and all things considered, is a relatively somewhat new school. I think I don't know. I think they'd been around since maybe the 80s,
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know.
I think
so like,
NCA was
or
like,
maybe even later.
NCA was
I
like
don't know.
Mid 90s.
Right. So it's not like it's been this like established institution for super long, you know.
That's pretty good for a Christian school,
the teachers were so underpaid, and you got to remember, like,
dude, I'm sure
they're
teachers
not getting
probably
any
made
tax. You know,
they
they're
must
not
made of
it's
like
not
made of under 30K.
Oh, a lot of them, you know, one of our I'm not
Probably
gonna
much
I'm not gonna
less.
mention names, you know, just for whatever, there's no need.
Yeah.
But as a kind of comical thing, like he was poking fun at himself or his situation, right? Teaching there, he was like, or they were like, you know, yeah, I could qualify for food stamps. Like, but he was like, you know, they were
Jeez.
serious, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you know, he's kidding kind of about it, or making light of it. And yeah, they definitely, and I think that shows, you know, it's like when in doubt, you know, if there are good people who are were very knowledgeable too, you know, but so yeah, there's pros and cons, you know.
But once
Met a lot
again-
of good people.
Yeah.
A lot of guys still have, you know, a few friends, handful of friends.
That's
that
what's
I
so
keep in
rare too,
touch
dude.
with.
Like
I try
a lot
to.
of my good
Yeah.
friends are like upstairs too. It's like, dude, so many friends from NCA. Even though
Yeah,
there's a
it's
lot of
good.
stuff, unfortunately, like it's just a yes and thing where I'm like, so like I will give NCA a ton of credit for my my spiritual building. The building of my spiritual foundation, that is. And I will absolutely give them the credit. I think my faith was my own, especially like I feel like, you know, it's funny because sometimes with walking with God, it's just like a roller coaster, right? Like ebbs and flows, especially, right? But especially
100%, yeah.
I think I just said especially back to back, but whatever. I don't care. It's my podcast. Kick rocks.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
But the whole fact of like, I kind of built. So this was a good community. I felt like I've always been in Christian circles. I've always been very receptive to like God is real and all these different things. And I've had my many dark seasons. But also I have to acknowledge that there was, even though with NCA and some things that happened afterwards, because they closed about a year after I graduated.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, which was
Excuse
just
me.
I think it was just probably more of a money thing, and then there's probably some other stuff too, maybe on the side, which wasn't related to them closing. That happened years later. But I will give credit where credit is due, even though my own faith has evolved through just life experience and all this different things. Like I will always like try to give as much credit to those communities, because like sometimes
Yeah.
obviously like faith, as you know, Kevin, is very much like the best way I can put it. You know what? Yeah, I think that is a good way to say it. I almost like wanted to check myself for a second, but I'm like, the best way I can look at my faith is that is one, obviously through humility and honesty with God. But the best way I can put it, and it's funny, on my whiteboard I have a couple like goals in mind that I try to do, like, because now through therapy,
that's great. That's
through
great.
therapy, whatever, I've become like a list guy, which sounds so dumb. but
Dude, you
just the
got
way
to
my-
therapy? I
Yeah,
still got.
we can talk about
I
that.
still
in a
gotta
minute.
go.
But to make a long
Not
story
got
short,
to. I want to go.
yeah,
That's
I know.
that's better. Yeah.
But anyways, long story short is that keeping an open dialogue with God has always kind of helped me with my faith. And the open dialogue with God thing is interesting because it's like that, like, phrase in that statement is not just like, it's not, all the pressure's not on God to keep our relationship going, and not all the pressure is on me. It's kind of this beautiful like 50-50 way where I come. The best way to describe it is like James, I think it's chapter 2, which it says, "Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you." So this beautiful exchange of just like,
Yeah. Oh, I felt like, man,
God coming
There's-
to you and you coming to Him.
there's this
It's got to be both ways.
Man, like it's so interesting. I think if you honestly have a moment, like a really kind of humble, sincere moment in your mind, your heart, whatever you're thinking, you're going about your day, and you give him like even just a little bit of like patience. Patience is it's not really the right word. You know what I mean? It's not like we're waiting for God to do something for us. It's not like that. It's more just like, okay, I guess putting in it's like giving him some trust, giving him
like
a little bit
waiting
of
on the
faith.
Lord
Yeah,
would be-
waiting. Yeah. And it's like incredible. You just give him a tiny bit, and then it's like you are open to receiving that other grace that comes with that.
Yeah.
And you start to notice it. And it's it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That being said, I think with all this stuff about like my upbringing and where I was and where God was leading me and all the ups and downs, where I'm like, I want to give credit as much as I can to the peoples, I guess you could say, honestly, that raised me. It's like, and also my faith is my own.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
a
also
gift.
God
well,
is
and it's
God,
yeah.
like in
He's
Philippians,
giving
it
giving
says,
it to you.
yeah, he'll be faithful to complete the work that's in you, right?
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing of where I'm like, oh, there are some things where I look back and I see a lot of good times. And I'm like, oh, I see a lot of things that maybe this wasn't the right or the best way to go about things.
Of course.
But I think it's just like the whole thing where I don't know if I thought of this idea as I was going to therapy or right before, but once again, to kind of reiterate myself, is keeping an open dialogue with God. So I think
that's such a good idea.
Yeah. Another thing that I would love to pick your mind about, Kev, is just kind of your whole experience with finding your own faith and whatnot. Because obviously, I had me and Nate touched on this briefly. Nate was my second guest, I think. But at times, the Christian walk, some people think there's some differences between the Christian or the Protestant walk and the Catholic walk at times. Now, to be fair,
what do you mean by that? Like, is it like, do you think you're saying it looks different? It might mean something different to
no, I think it means
the respective church, or what do you mean by that? Or
I think it means the same way. I think it's at times a different pathway where
like a different. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm trying to think of the best way of explaining this. And one reason why I'm so glad we could talk about this, because I think you'd be a great authority on this. Well,
I don't know about authority, but I have some.
I
might have some honest, or kind of transparent thoughts, Or
yeah, I just think
that I've taken seriously. I guess that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, okay, this is gonna jump into the weeds. So if you actually, I don't think you would feel uncomfortable about this. I feel like there's sometimes there's like almost like a rivalry between Protestantism and like Catholicism.
Well,
then I'm like, I look at it kind of like this.
It's sort of been a thing for a long time. So the word Catholic. Do you know what it like means? Or I don't even.
I don't actually think I know what
Latin,
the actual definition is.
Root word or Greek or something like that. It means universal.
Educate me.
It means universal. So it's universally the same. And
that's what Catholicism means?
It means universal.
Okay, cool. I had no clue about that.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is, of course, easier said than done, but it's like something, regardless of where we think we have to be looking, we don't have to stress too much about that, because if we honestly are trying to search out God, the Lord, we're trying to learn and love and know, Christ more, he's going to lead us to him in the way that he wants, or in the true way, because the way, the truth, and the life. And so I think if you're doing that, if you're honestly doing that to the best of your ability, with of course many doubts and confusion and U-turns and everything along the way.
Yeah.
But like that's the basis, right? So Catholic, what Catholicism is now, like, when you're younger, it's like when you watch a movie for the first time when you're younger, right? Or you read a book at a certain age, you have an understanding of it, right?
Yeah.
You know what's going on, like, you know the general plot. But then there are all of the, little hidden messages and themes and, different values and things, different elements that you wouldn't pick up unless you had spent more time in it. And you had, like, kept an open mind and you watched it a few more times and, you grew up and you're older now. And so I think that does happen, over time with different people. At different ages, they'll look back and they'll give some thought to some different things, about the doctrine or about a church teaching or about a scripture, whatever it is, and then they'll go, and it might be like, oh, okay, this is what they mean by this. Like Catholicism to me, because I've gone to Concord Christian was like Protestant.
Yeah.
So from like
are your parents, I assume,
are Catholic? Yeah. So I was raised Catholic. So
was it kind of weird a little bit? Like,
no, and they wanted me to go there because they.
I'm sorry to press you, by the way. I would just.
No.
I think you're the best person.
I think
to
it's
ask.
fun.
Because I'm like, why?
It's
I think
important.
Christians and Catholics should be like, dude, or I should. Sorry, I just misspoke. Protestants and Catholics are under the same branch as Christians. Why don't we talk more about stuff? That's why I love.
That's good.
That's why we love our friend Nate Thibodeau, because you're just like, oh, dude, you're always like thinking about the right things,
Well, no, I'm not always thinking about the right things, but
I think you guys do a pretty good job of being open about faith.
Yeah,
though,
well, because I'm,
people don't want to do.
If there's anything, I have
no hate.
I have a lot of qualms, a lot of flaws, If there's one thing about me that, like, at the end of the day, I can be like, okay, I'm this, Kevin is this, that I can have peace with, is like, okay,
right.
I'm transparent, like, it's like what you're hearing is what's inside, and it's like me, it's who I am, kind of thing. So, but like, with the Catholic thing, so my parents they chose Concord Christian, because they felt at the time that Bishop Brady. Yeah, so they.
Sorry guys, I just knocked over the camera, aka my iPhone. So we were talking about Bishop Brady.
Yeah. So, they like whatever, right? I'm not my parents, and part of that's faith and trust, and like, okay, they care about you, they want what's best for you, like whatever. Parents don't always make the right decision, but they're doing their best. You know what I mean? And it's like we're going to be in the same positions when we're, probably when we're older, and we're going to do our best. So everybody goes about things differently. But anyways, so they just felt like Bishop Brady was kind of more Catholic in name only, and they kind of felt the vibe of it. They felt that, like, where's everybody's head and heart at? What's kind of what feels like the goal here? And they felt like they could sense, I guess, Conquer Christian seemed to be more leaning towards like an actual Christ-like environment.
Oh.
And so I went there. So I homeschooled first grade through fourth grade.
Nice.
And then fifth grade through senior year.
6th grade, or 7th grade.
Oh yeah, homeschool. Represent. Which was so nice, dude. Oh. Like you could just take off.
I might kind
go to
of
the beach
on one
and here's a field trip. Let's go to the ocean. But no, it didn't happen that often. But it was really fun when it did. Those are good things to think about. Good things. But yeah, so I went. So I guess that's Catholic school, right? Or I went to some like Oh, dude, you really want to back up? Oh my gosh, that's
Back
so
me
funny.
up, baby.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. So there's this preschool, Emerson Preschool, that I went to, and they had some kind of new age like Zen thing. Oh, dude,
Really?
oh yeah, it was hilarious. So I kid you not, like we had this thing, like it's like basically, like substituted for, right, like prayer time,
Sure.
or like
Meditation.
yeah, or whatever. It was
Stuff,
like
yeah.
no, dude, we literally sat in a circle and we had I kid you not, we had a rock of the day. Like, oh, this is Tuesday's rock, and no, I'm serious. And we used to pass it around, and the teacher would be like, "How does the rock make you feel?" Like what does it say to you? No, dude, I'm not even kidding.
This
Dude,
was
and
like,
as a like 3, 4, whatever year old kid, dude, I knew it was baloney.
oh, this was like
Oh my
young,
gosh,
young,
dude!
young,
And I
young.
was like,
I thought this was like maybe middle school.
a
but
rock
dang.
is inorganic material. It doesn't, No, but like, it just, and we used to. It was like, oh, Bossini son, oh, Bossini son, or something. We had some like song, like a chant, and we would pass around the rock, and she would, people would feel it, they'd look at it, you'd like smell it, like listen to it, whatever. It was.
Smell it.
It was the
What does a
dumbest-
rock smell
dude,
like?
And one time I was
A
like
rock?
feeling kind of feisty and defiant.
You
and
were?
I
You're
and I
feeling
kinda, like,
rebellious?
Yeah, and I like chucked the rock like towards the teacher, God bless her, Susan,
Whoa.
who I found. I ran on a sad note, but way to honor her, I guess, in conversation is kind of a funny memory too. So it's a good segue, I guess. But there was a trail race, the Emerson trail race that I ran. A bunch of people from Runner's Alley went. And it was a really good time. It was a great course. It was like 7.7, 7.8, or 8 miles, something like that.
Jeez.
But I found out, I was like, hey, like,
That's the
this is
track
kind of
star,
cool,
yeah.
we get to run this course, it's where I run all the time. It's like where Auburn Street is and everything by the hospital
Sure. Yeah.
in Concord. And I was like, I'm pretty sure her name's Susan. She's like play the guitar. I was like, I think she was like, one of the teachers here or like whatever, people who organized it. I was like, super long time ago, but is she still around or like, because I was just curious. And they were like, oh, she passed, like it was like 2-3 weeks ago or something. Like it was like, whoa.
No way.
Yeah. So it was kind of interesting. God bless her, but it was funny. But anyways, yeah, but okay. So circling back to the Catholic thing,
I just love this whole thing because I think one person that's really helped me once again with just being more open. So on a random note, we don't have to dive. Maybe I'll have to have you on one more time before Florida, my man.
oh yeah, dude, that'd be so much fun.
But I think the whole thought of that sometimes in like Christian and Catholic circles we can get a little bit too much like tribalism. We're like the Catholics do their thing and the Protestants do their thing.
Sure.
And then we meet in the middle like God loves us all, but
Well,
it's
I
funny.
think it's so like I've seen I've been in all those different environments, Catholic school, Protestant school, and secular school, and of course, yeah, sure, I know more about Catholicism, so you could say I'm biased, or you could say, hey,
Dude, I'm
just
not
know-
trying to trap you or whatever. No, way
I
at
know
all.
you're not. No, yeah. So like Catholicism to me, it starts to keep making more and more sense. And I always
I would love
felt
you to
I always
keep
had
going
this
on.
hunger. I always had this like we had this apologetics in Bible class at Concord Christian, and it was like I always wanted to know like the how and the why and everything behind it and really like dig in.
Yeah.
And it just kind of the message and vibe, it was always just like, kind of, okay, Jesus died on the cross for your sins. And it was just like that message kind of jammed down all the time, constantly. And it was like, that's not enough for me. Like I need I need depth.
Ooh,
Like I
think you just almost said it, the mystery of the gospel.
the mystery. And Catholicism seems like Judaism fulfilled, because it's like so you have so
I'm gonna clip that.
So you have it's really interesting. So you have all these like parallels from the Torah, the Old Testament, to the New Testament.
Yeah.
And so you have like, you take like Egypt, where, Pharaoh, it was so sad, like it was the slaughtering of the innocent. So it was like he was afraid that the Hebrew people were getting too big and they could overtake him. So it was like every like 2-year-old and down, like male or whatever, he had like, executed. Yeah. And then fast forward, during Christ's time, you had Herod do the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have, it's just like, I don't know. Have you ever noticed that? Like, it's like, and then you have Pentecost, or excuse me, not Pentecost. You have Passover, and the blood of the Lamb on the doorposts.
Absolutely.
And then it's like the spirit of death passes over, and it's like, and then Christ is the Lamb, like the blood's on the doorpost, like the cross, like the tree, and it's like, okay, like now through him, like, okay, now the spirit of death can pass over us, like, and we're celebrating this possibility of new life. And then you have like the manna in the desert with the Israelites, and then you have the manna, the Eucharist. So that's probably, I'm guessing, one of the hardest things, I think, for Catholics. The Eucharist is really hard for people to grasp. I mean,
really?
every Sunday, everybody's, I think, struggles with that faith, because it's, and that's, I think, the difference is that, Catholics, we have these tools, these resources, these sacraments, these gifts of grace.
Sacraments, that's the word.
Yeah, that are like, because we're physical people, and I think Christ knew that. And so he's like, I'm not just going to be with you spiritually. I want to be
with you physically.
Exactly.
So it's funny because, like, I almost, when you say that, I think of at the end of, is it Matthew, where it's like, Christ says, I will be with you always until the end of the age.
That's my mom's favorite verse.
Shout out to Mama Suarez.
Yeah, Christine. Yeah.
Christine.
Yeah, it's just it's so interesting. I really enjoy thinking about these things, because it seems it's like one of those things. It's like a hopeful mystery. It doesn't a lot of those thoughts, when you go down them, it like gives you a good sign each time. I think that's a really good indication, I think, for a lot of people maybe listening or out there. Like, if the thoughts that you're dwelling on gives you this, it might sound self-explanatory, but like, this healthy excitement, or this, not just happiness, like joy.
I think you're looking. Thank you. I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
Joy comes from.
Yeah. And then you should stick with them. Like, stick with them. Keep thinking those things.
What a mature way to look at things, man. Maybe that's always been something that's been easy for you to come by. But I even look at my dad and some people from my church who are, in a funny way, the word would be like disgruntled Catholics, where their specific experience at their church was more legalistic and whatever. But I look at a couple of my really close Catholic friends, like you, Thibodeau, another friend of mine, and even like my dad's. Shoot, I wasn't close to the mic. Did you hear that? Is that coming through?
Yeah.
Still okay? Honestly, Kevin, like 2 years ago, I'd be like, if someone would say Christian or Catholic, I'm like, or dang, I said it again, bro. Protestant or Catholic, I'd be like,
I know what you mean.
Come over to the Protestant side, because they're more legalistic and they have a lot of tradition, which is good, but maybe too much of it. And now I felt like, because I actually brought this to God, I'd be like, God, what do you want me to do? And then I look at a lot of my friends, some of my Catholic friends, and I look at some of my Protestant friends, and I'm like, I think it's like, what is God you know,
Where is he calling us, or how does he want us to step towards him?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. Like, you know, it's like
I just love this.
nobody's perfect. Like, there are the values and lessons and morals and life-giving words that Protestants live really, really well by and Catholics don't. And there are things that Catholics, I think, demonstrate in their life, you know, more akin or accurate to that than some Protestants. The thing is like, you know, it does boil down to love. And it's like, you know, if you're trying your best to imitate Christ and not just always just be like him, sometimes remembering, like, it's not just like like we want to walk, we want to be with him. We want to walk with him.
So one of my closest friends,
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, hey, you're the authority, like you're the coach and the parent and the referee and a teammate all at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right, man. And that's one of my a really good friend of mine who's been on the podcast before. My friend David Marshall. I love this guy to death. His dad, who's a pastor, that says like, or says a certain phrase that has like kind of stuck with me lately over the last 2 years, which is kind of mind blowing in my personal opinion. But it's like, his name's John, so this is God speaking to David's father, John, where he says, John, don't strive to be like me. Strive to be with me. In being with me, you'll be like me. So basically, the intimate walk with God, the open dialogue,
which is so hard, man.
All that stuff creates the intimacy that then makes you look like God. And I think that's the biggest part in my life where I'm like, whether it's stuff
because we're in His image. That's you know, it's something I keep. It's like, oh man, like it's like there's this crack or sliver that gets opened up, maybe in your head or your heart, and then you realize, and you start to gain this appreciation and kind of gratitude and excitement for, like, oh, the design, like His plan, like His design, you know, like just His whole order of things, like how, like you were saying, like we're trying to be like Christ because we want to be imitators of Christ, and we can, and it's like, we can do that. God, He creates, we create. You know, He loves perfectly, we love. We don't love perfectly, but we can keep taking steps to get there. Man, it's so hard. It's all of it is so much easier said than done.
Oh, so much.
So
and that's
so
the thing
much.
where I get like,
it's so difficult.
Obviously, like,
but that's what makes it worth it, I think.
The whole fact of like God loved us first, so then we love. It's like, absolutely, and I'm gonna not be as good as, I'm gonna be a fraction of how God loves us, but I'm gonna do my best to do it to love better, because I want to please God.
It's all, and it's a way. It's because I feel like I need that the most. Like, it's not this imposing rules and regulations structure. It's this opportunity to, you know, really follow. You're like, okay, where is this path going? It's like that. It's like, you're like, oh, okay, I know why they picked these readings, because this has to do with this now, and this sets it up for next week, and it's very, like, it helps you enter into the mystery. You know, it's cool, you know, and and then man, reconciliation, like confession, you know, thank goodness, you know, our Lord is so merciful and forgiving. I mean, like, dude, I mean, it's like a mini therapy session for free, if you want to look at it that way.
We didn't even talk about therapy. We'll have to
And
do that
no,
next
but like
time.
that's what I mean. You go into reconciliation, you talk,
Faith is
and
the
and you say,
ultimate
hey,
therapy.
I think it's this was my last time I was here, and
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, say what's on your heart, say what's on what are where have you gone wrong,
Right.
and then you get to talk about it.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you don't have to be behind that screen thing if you don't want. I'm very like it's like this, with the priest. Like I just like to sit down and because I
Oh,
want,
really?
that's
So
how I mean if I was
You can be this like casual and
it's not it's not casual. It's a powerful thing. Your sins
that's
are
something where
wiped
I don't
clean.
understand that. So.
Yeah, so it's like you can think of it as like the priest he's just an instrument. He's just a vessel. He's an administrator. He's a messenger. He's the it's not he's not the one forgiving anybody's sin. Only God can do that, right?
He is a vessel. Yeah,
So,
vessel
but-
is a great way to say that.
Yeah, and it's like how we can be responsible for carrying out certain gifts or duties or obligations or like skill or whatever. It's like, hey, I'm representing this grace that that people know about. Christ's forgiveness of sins, but we're doing it in a very intentional way. And
Intentional is a great word. to
yeah,
describe that.
it's a very intentional way. And let's be honest, it's not the same thing, I mean, I've had moments where, you say you're sorry to God, and it's just you in your room, or wherever you are, it's still real. But there's something to be said about the logos, like the words being, you having the humility to speak them out loud to somebody else. And that takes something the sound. It's like it sounds different.
Oh, is
now.
it feeding back a little bit?
I don't know.
Yeah. Finish that thought on the Logos, man.
Yeah, so it's like it's a little, you have to be vulnerable to be in front of someone.
Sure, absolutely.
And so you usually get some really great, helpful, practical advice about how to go about things. You're receiving, direction and guidance and maybe even, some understanding and love, hopefully, and empathy, from the person, but they're making you whole again. They're helping to make you whole. It's like it's literally it's a spiritual therapy. But it's more than that. I don't want to sound fluffy duffy about it, and it's not like I'm trying to like downplay it so that it's more palatable to a general.
Yeah.
No, but that's how I feel about it. Is like, it's like and it's a really beautiful thing, and you can go as much as you want as long as it's available. And there's again, it's like all these tools, you can because when you receive communion, it's like okay, we are what we eat, we are what we consume. If we're looking at certain TV shows and our thoughts are on that, we're on that. It's like God knew we needed like physical things, so like he's like, oh, let me do bread and wine because that's the most like basic thing. Because it's like a symbol of like, I want to be with you, in union, communion with, like, that's the thing.
Dude,
and like, and and so, and it's like, and of course that's kind of a strange, kind of maybe abstract thing for us to wrestle with, why would God, want us to eat him, consume him? But it's it's not that.
So many things to get into.
And it's also like it's this way of like, and have you noticed like there's always a thing, it's like, why do we share meals together? People forget too, it's everybody being together for a meal. I mean, and that's like one of the most intimate like family things you can have.
Yeah.
And and it's just little bit by little bit there are things that you start to appreciate about it. Not just appreciate, but it like makes sense.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So.
Wow. Damn, dude, we could just keep on going, but I'm sure I think this has been
Yeah, this has
awesome
been a lot of fun.
and so life-giving and so fun, dude. And once again, I just want to try to, at least for my audience, it's like, I just want to keep an open dialogue about whether we agree with stuff about faith or just talk about more. I feel like sometimes
it's like get the conversation going. Just
get it going,
talk
dude.
about it.
sometimes
Just
it's
get
hard
your
for us
thoughts
to
out
talk
there.
about these.
Just
yeah,
it's like the reason why I love that you're doing this, Ben, is that, and I think of what I've seen now is we've had. I know we want to wrap this up, but I feel like with the use of technology, we've kind of had our trends with how we approach it and how we like kind of behave with it. You know, and so sometimes, I feel like when we're first introduced, a lot of things were kind of superficial, like, hey, we're not our real selves because it's a screen and we're kind of projecting this thing out. And, we all still do that to some degree. But I feel like now with podcasts, it's taken out the quick, clickbait and buzz phrases and grab your attention stuff. And it's more sincere. That's why I like them, is because it's like, okay, it's good to just, everybody has so many unique and really, really cool life stories, like and thoughts and beliefs and business ideas and dreams and stuff. And it's like, I feel like there's so much, people are so interesting. People have so much to give to each other, I think.
100%.
And that's why I love that you're doing this, is because I love doing this. I love it. I love that, like you were saying, you're opening up the conversation, to things that I think people, are maybe looking for, or they care about, or have thought about before, or just, or really anything. And we're saying about faith, like, that's just great, man.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you, man. I love it. I gotta have you once again on. I gotta have you on once again, man.
Oh, dude, I'm already super excited. Yeah,
great, man. Like, we need. I'm like, we need to have like things written out and whatnot. Specific topics that I want to cover with.
Oh, you know what? What if you did a journal?
I should.
Where you write a page to God, like conversation with him, and you write a page to yourself, and then, I don't know, maybe a third page, like, you write a page to a friend or like a mentor. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to, actually, I'm going to have my mentor on soon, but that is a great thought, Kevin. So, this has been awesome. Kev, you're awesome. I love you.
Dude, you're fantastic.
You're a legend, dude. I think it's so cool because even like when we first met, like we don't see each other a lot.
No.
We only see each other a couple times a year. But
yeah, but
I feel God's
great.
favor on your life and all this stuff, man. So get it all out of the way. And once again, I will have you on before it's almost mid-June right now. And you're taking off basically like beginning of August.
That's the plan.
But,
so
we will have Kevin on again. I promise it will happen, guys. Thank you for listening. If you made it to the end, this has been The Last House on the Left. I'm your host, Ben Sontag. This is Kevin Suarez. We've been chopping it up, killing time, and speaking what's on our minds. And that's that. So
thank you for having me, man.
I love you,
dude. Thanks for having me over, and thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, dude. I'm so glad we could make it happen, dude. So cool. Thanks.
Did I mistake you?